and Patricia Castillo.
Yes,
Sorry,
you got
Patricia.
it.
You know, I don't want to bungle. I know my Spanish well enough to at least get that out. Anyhow, we're here for our home buying seminar. We do every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And we do it live. Feel free to come in. It's meant to be participative. And then we also record it. We live stream it as well as record it to YouTube and Facebook and all the social medias and stuff. We get together every week and talk about all things related to buying homes, buying your first home, upgrading to a new home, in the environment that we're in, the crazy environment we're in. And Patricia, you'd like to welcome in our guest speaker today?
Yeah, so we have Roman Marisak, and he's with Primer Home Inspections.
How you doing?
Located in the Santa Clarita Valley.
Yep.
And we're excited to have you here today to go over the home inspection, why it's valuable to buyers, especially first-time home buyers that may not be as savvy as somebody that's ready to purchase several homes. So welcome to our call today, Roman.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming. So give me a little background. First, the obvious question, you're in the Santa Clarita Valley. Geographically, what areas do you service?
I'll service really anywhere, probably up to 75 miles radius from here. I'll go pretty far. So all Los Angeles, up to Palmdale, really anywhere around. So that's pretty much all like the main part of LA,
San Gabriel Valley?
Yeah, somewhat, yeah.
You get in the Inland Empire at all? Rancho Cucamonga?
No, that's getting a little far, I think, right, in that
Okay.
part.
Okay, so part of our team is actually located out in Diamond Bar, Pomona, and then further east. So it's good to know where the limits are. So give us a little background. Where did you grow up, and then how did you get into real estate?
I got actually, I've got into I started this company about 6 months ago. I was working for the last few years with my friend. Started out a home inspection company out in Palm Springs called Modern Home Inspection. And I also do other things. I'm a musician, and I needed something else to keep things afloat. So I knew a lot about houses. I've dealt with general contracting and owning my own house. I knew everything about it, and it was a great field to get into. And I actually enjoy doing the home stuff. So I started my company like 6 months ago, and it's getting rolling, and it's going really well. It's a great business. You're going in there helping out people, basically, especially people, like you said, people buying their first house. They want some reinsurance of what they're getting into, and that's
Right.
what we do.
Right. So give me a basic, what is a standard inspection package on a standard home, and what does that cost a home buyer?
It depends on the square footage, but let's say just for a basic general home inspection, around a 2,000 square foot, I believe it's right around $400. And then you could have a pool, that's another $75. So that's an add-on. But really, when you think of the scope of what a home inspection brings, because it is a negotiating tool. Once you're at that point in the sale, you already discuss price most often, I believe, and I find something wrong with the house. That potentially could even get you a discount on the house or repairs done. That might,
Right.
especially like the roof or anything major like that.
Right. So when you inspect a property, a typical 2,000 square foot home, how long do you actually spend at the home
It's like
inspecting physically?
up to 2.5, 3 hours for like a home that size.
And then what does the customer end up with at the end of the report?
Well, at the end of the inspection, if their customers are there, I'll give them a walkthrough, show them the general stuff. But as far as all the little details and all the specifics, I do a report. So we draft a report, which is very detailed, and there's a lot of information in there, more than just the problems. I mean, you'll see any problems, I'll point out, obviously highlighted, like any roofs or the HVAC system, all that's obviously top priority, all like the big ticket items. But I'll put in there just the general understanding of your house, like where the water shutoff is, where the gas shutoff, things you want to know about your house. Is there where the filter is to change, for your AC, things that you might not even know exist.
Right.
So that report is it's very important to have, even if there's not even any problems. You'll get some good information out of it.
Right. Wow. The business has changed so much. 6 months ago, if a buyer did an inspection and send in a copy of it and a request for repairs, as a listing agent, the most common response was no, and please let us know right away if you're backing out so we can put the house back on the market right away. Now it's a different story that buyers both will get the protection of knowing what's in the property, as well as probably use it for negotiation in a market today sellers face with putting back on the market aren't going to get an increase in price automatically like they did 6 months ago, right? So it's a whole different business. Do you get in discussions with the other agent? I mean, imagine, let's say Patricia sells a house, she calls you to inspect the property. Do you get contact with the listing agent at all, or is that just primarily the report stands on its own?
The report stands on its own because I'm there looking out for the buyer, and
Right.
it's strictly, I just tell them what is wrong. There's nothing else to it. I report what's going on with the house. I don't tell them anything about prices. I don't
Right.
discuss what it costs. I tell them, call in an expert for this particular, if there's something with the electrical or whatever, call in an electrician here. And then, but we don't get into any discussion with the seller's agent as far as any details. Our report goes to the seller, the person that's to the buyer, the person that's hiring us.
Great. One of the biggest mistakes I see agents and buyers make is they have an inspector come in and imagine there's something that's wrong or an accumulation of things that are wrong. And the cost to repair them, let's just say, is cumulatively $5,000. $1,000 for this, $800 that, $200 this, blah, 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 blah. And they'll put in the request for repairs, the seller to repair these items, and the estimate to be $5,000. And I think that in negotiation, you always want to make it easy for the other party to say yes. And so I found the best practice is to make a list of the items repaired and say, seller to repair these items or a credit to the buyer in this amount. And that way the seller can say yes, and they can do either or. Because what you don't want to do is make the seller do the work if they're out of town or they're not so inclined. Like me personally, I even hang a picture of my house. I call my son-in-law. Behind me has some boards. I didn't even know how to put them up. I bought them on Amazon. They showed up.
Yeah.
And so you want to make it easy, and the report then can be the backup as to what it is in the punch list of what has to get done. But you don't want to make the seller fix it. You want to give the seller most commonly the choice to fix it or to make a credit. And that seems to me, at least it's easier for the seller to say yes or no, or instead of $5,000, we'll credit you $3,000 or $2,000 or whatever. Now you're at least negotiating, able to negotiate. But Denise, what questions do you have, or what do you see in this process?
So as far as the inspection is concerned, I think it's vital to the home buying process, but also it's also sometimes a starting point because you have the home inspected, and sometimes that first inspection will lead to more inspections. So you might want to have the sewer line checked and drop a camera in there and have that checked. If the inspector, if Roman says, hey, the roof looks like it's at the end of its life, you might want to have a roofer come in and perform a roof certification just to confirm. Maybe you can, strengthen the roof, patch up a few places, or maybe you just need a new roof altogether. So again, that's something that can be used as a negotiating tool since you're still in your contingency phase and you still have that exit strategy. Some of these properties that, might have been like back in 2008 where there were a lot of foreclosures and some properties were even boarded up. If there isn't enough airflow to the property and maybe there was some water damage before, that might lead to some mold inspections that need to be done. So these are just all really important details to consider when you have the home inspection done. I had a client, we were looking at homes last year and everything was great with the home. We had the home inspection done. And of course, all these, items started popping out and we decided to have the sewer line checked as well, because that's something you can't see from the outside, right? So we had the camera in there and there was, let's say the pipe is like this big, the main pipe, like half of it was blocked off. And I mean, there was no way to identify what substance was in there. It just looked like this white substance and you can see the water just kind of, pushing around it. And, not knowing what that was going to take to fix, that's something that would be really frustrating for a buyer. Let's say they waive their home inspection and then down the line, they are having these major plumbing problems. So that's something that, I think is just really important for home buyers not to waive that home inspection, no matter how good the deal is or how much they want the property, but still definitely get your home inspection done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's what you said. Yeah, that's true. Because even with the sewer, like it could be fine at the moment, but if you take a look in there and there's potential, like if there's a tree close to them, you have the old school pipes, it'll keep clogging up, and you want to know that because that's very expensive to putting whole new piping. You have to rip everything up. So
Right.
exactly.
Yeah, just to rejet it. I mean, I was gonna do that to my house because where I live, I'm surrounded by trees, and so I have a lot of roots that are growing into the pipes. And I called a plumbing company, and they said, well, we can go in there and put a high hydrojetting, through your property and basically blast out all of that, whatever debris in their roots and anything that's been backed up. But it's like $800.
Yeah.
Which at the end of the day, if it's going to clear up your plumbing, you have to do it. It's a necessity. But if it's something that you can have done maybe when you purchase the home and at least you're clear for, a given time, that'll save you that money down the road. Because there's so many expenses that you incur just moving into a property. So that'll save you some money for a given time until you're ready to actually maybe, work on the plumbing that needs to be taken care of.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I think it's important to know what it's going to cost, whether or not you do the work. I always tell buyers that you can in the general inspection process, you can waive the formal process of an inspection. It doesn't mean you can't inspect the property. It doesn't mean you can't hire a professional to do that inspection. And so what happens is the buyer, you should know what, if you just buy something that's $200,000 to $1 million or more, you want to know the status of it, right? And that's what you had the inspection for. Whether or not you expect the seller to compensate you if you find defects, that's a different question. And in a competitive environment, you may not be able to or may not want to. But certainly you should know what the risks are. And the situation you talk about, Patty says, no way to know what that expense is. It could be very expensive if you don't fix it.
Right.
At least if you know, you can make an informed decision on the risks.
Because even if you know a lot about houses and that type of thing, it's still different getting inspected because we see the same issues all the time. We know exactly what to look for, things that might not be so obvious. So that's
Right.
another important thing to consider.
Right. Very, very important. So let me ask you this, what's the most wild thing you've seen? You must, like we do in real estate, all the time you go to houses and you see people and you see crazy stuff. What's the wildest thing you've seen in the course of being an inspection? You said you walked away, scratch your head saying, I can't believe this guy's doing that.
Just simple things, not even that wild. Just okay, like you inspect the air conditioner heater and you look and you take out the filter and you can tell it hasn't been changed in 20 years, and it's just they're probably getting 50% efficiency or less on there, and all it is $10 filter or whatever. You have to just put in there, pop in, and it's something that simple that they don't even realize they have to change. So I mean, it'll be just caked in dust for like 20 years. So things like that, it's just kind of surprising when it's something so simple. But again, they might not know about it, and that's the details that our report will bring out to you.
I was listening to actually yesterday. I hosted a investor, and he was talking about rinsing out a condenser in the air conditioning system.
Yeah,
is that something we do? I've never heard that before. Is that something
keeping it clean? Yeah, you'll get leaves and stuff on the outside, the big unit on either on the roof or the side of the house. Just it's good to keep that clean because it starts building up. It doesn't run as efficiently. And
also, you can just hose it down, right? Just with the
water.
Down.
Yeah, it's outside. It's the water. It's fine to get wet. And then checking there's like the condenser lines that lead to that, and there's insulation on those. And a lot of times over years that always rots off. So you want to make sure that it's simple. It's just insulation you put around it, zip tie it on. But that'll make your air conditioner run way more efficiently. So those little things do help.
We have an air conditioning guy, and every year we have him out, like I think in April or May, and I'm sure all he does is pulls out the filter and blows on it.
Yeah.
And rinses out the condensers and charges, I don't know, $100 or something. But whatever it is, but my wife feels good, and the air conditioners are running perfectly. So,
yeah, exactly.
The first time we did it, though, you're right. It was amazing the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, if your intake is blocked, or it's going to slow down, and it was amazing the first time that. Here we're thinking, oh my gosh, we're faced with a whole new air conditioner. He said, no, just the filter was filthy.
Yeah, exactly.
We should do it every year, so we just have them come out every year.
Yep, it's a good practice. Yep.
Oh, good. What else? Patricia, what have you seen in home inspection? What's been your worst case scenario?
So one of the homes that we went into we went into an open house, and this was last year. So when the heat of the bidding wars and 30 people lined up to go and see a property. So one of the bedroom doors were closed, and the listing agent said, there was so many people waiting to enter the home that he was literally like walking us through the home and saying, just kind of take a quick look around because we have so many people outside. So fast forward, we made an offer, got accepted. We're in escrow. We're out there doing the home inspection. So now we're seeing the room that we didn't get to see during the open house. And they said there was, a couple of cats in there. And so they didn't want to let the cats out and risk them getting out of the home. So we went ahead and, like I said, made an offer, opened escrow, where they're doing the inspection. And as we open the door, the cats are still there, but there's not a bunch of people there because it's just myself and the buyer and, the listing agent. So there's this, the worst stench that I have ever encountered. It was literally the bedroom just for the cats. So it just smelled really bad. There was little, cat beds everywhere, scratching posts, their, litter box, and they had that was their little home in that room. So it was going to take a lot to go in there and clean that out and have it, professionally cleaned and probably sanitized. It was just something that, you probably have to rip the floor out and just get the whole room redone. The rest of the house was actually in pretty good condition. I think it was just that stench, and my client has asthma. So she said, no way, I cannot deal with this. And this is the same property where we put the camera into the sewer pipe where it showed that blockage and couldn't tell what it was. It wasn't growth from roots. It wasn't anything like that. It was just this white substance that we couldn't, really figure out what it was. So that, with the combination of the cat room, just blew the deal. Yep. We ended up, just canceling the escrow at that point and moved on. But it was just this horrendous smell that we just could not get out of our minds, and so my buyer said, I can't even, the thoughts of, those pleasant thoughts of being excited about a home just got wiped out.
Yeah.
So that was pretty bad. It was just this gnarly smell that you just could not, as soon as the door opened, we were like choking.
I had a listing where it was a probate where the decedent passed, and this woman was able to live in the house for free. She thought, as long as she took care of all the pets, including like 5 cats in this one room. And I remember I went to open the door, and I just cracked the door open. And I'm a guy. I'm used to some pretty gnarly stuff. With all respect, even unless you've been in a men's gym, you don't really know what bad smells are. I played football. I played hockey. I've been around some pretty gnarly situations in my life, backed up bathrooms and such. I've seen a lot of stuff in real estate. But I gotta tell you, I cracked that door open slowly, thinking I didn't want to let the cats out. And I thought I was hitting the head with a baseball bat. The smell was so bad. Yeah. I closed it. And I just said, there's no way anybody's going in that room. Mm-hmm. And there's just no way. It was just too much. So, yeah, that's welcome to real estate. But we sold it, and my seller got a good price, and the buyer got a good deal, and everyone was happy. So, Hey, those who are on the call today, this is meant to be interactive. You're welcome to jump in and ask questions. You can put in the chat box, or you can raise your hand on the Zoom reactions tab by raising your hand. Or if you're watching the live stream, you can put a question in the chat box, and we watch them now. If you're watching this after the fact on the replay, put a question in the chat box, and we'll get to that afterwards as well. Patricia and I are pretty diligent on doing that. You may have any questions for Roman regarding home inspections, the process, or situations regarding houses in Southern California. I think we help you guys both.
Or maybe some of the most expensive, bigger ticket items that need to be repaired or replaced. If anybody has any questions, let us know.
What's the most unexpected expense you ever had when you bought a house? What would mine be? Probably plumbing. Probably we bought a house and didn't really do all the work on the plumbing. I will say we did an inspection once bought a house to live in, my wife and I. And it was a perfect location. It was a cul-de-sac in Diamond Bar, the south end. magnificent view, beautiful home structure, 4-bedroom. Everything was perfect. The garage, the layout, the backyard, the view. I mean, perfect within our budget. But every surface in the house was filthy. The flooring, the walls, everything had to be repaired. And I remember looking at the sinks thinking they were painted green. I had not seen a green colored sink before, and the showers, and they had an oversized jacuzzi that was also green. I thought that's an interesting choice of colors throughout. It was green. And of course, did the home inspection, discovered no, it's not really green. At least the sink isn't green. The green stuff on the sink is green. The green stuff in the jacuzzi. And so when we closed escrow, we had an inspector, and before he knew Roman, and he checked the oversized jacuzzi and it was working fine. But we moved in, it wasn't working. And what had apparently happened was they had they put the heater on before the inspection. I guess they never turned it off. And we closed escrow for like 2 weeks or something after the inspection. And so at that time, somehow the heater malfunctioned, melted, had to be replaced. And fortunately, we not only had an inspector, we had a home warranty. The home warranty wouldn't fix it because they said it was prior existing, meaning it was the seller's responsibility, and the seller's not paying for it. So really, the home inspection, I think, can work with the home warranty together, because you're establishing what it is when you inspect the property. And the home warranty may come back later and say, hey, after Roman was there, they broke the plumbing before you moved in, and have evidence of it. So you really want those two things together to work together.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I did when I bought my home here in Downey. I still had my home warranty because it was in the first 6 months that this happened. I moved in July, and as soon as winter rolled around, I turned on I have an old floor furnace. My house was built in 1950, so turned on the floor furnace, or tried to, because it was cold, chilly night and it wasn't working. So with the combination of my home warranty, I mean, the whole repair job turned out to be about $1,800. The home warranty absorbed most of that cost. My out-of-pocket was like $500, but I was able to get, a new pilot in there, got it serviced, got it cleaned up, and it's underneath the house, so it's not easy to get to, but it's been working fine ever since.
One of the things also I use the Old Republic for home warranty, and they'll actually have the coverage start while it's being listed. As long as the buyer ends up buying it, they'll cover the prior period, and that's just another way to help cover that argument. Well, whose responsibility is it? And you kind of tie it down between the home inspection and the home warranty. Somebody's going to fix it and resolve the matter to everybody's satisfaction, hopefully. Okay, well, look, Roman, thank you so much for coming tonight. And so if somebody wanted more information about home inspection or to use you as serious, such a Budinsky, I don't really, nobody asked you. Sorry about that. Roman, if someone wanted to get more information on home inspection or hire you to do an inspection in the greater LA area, how would they get a hold of you?
They can go to the website, Primar Home Inspection, PRIMAR homeinspection.com. And through there, they can get a hold of us.
Fantastic. PrimarHomeInspection.com,
Yep.
PRIMAR homeinspection.com. And Roman, really appreciate having you on today. Thank you for sharing with us, with everybody.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, Roman, for being here today.
All right,
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Patricia, anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
Yes, I'm available and open for consultations. If anybody has any questions after the call, I can be reached at 323-365-9909.
One more time.
323-365-9909.
That's Patricia Castillo in Downey, California, the Beverly Hills of the 562.
That's right.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for introducing us to Roman. I appreciate that. Jeffrey, nice seeing you. And
Ariel, thank you for joining the call. Ariel Lightfoot.
Ariel, very nice. Thank you. Feel free to jump in if you have any questions before we wrap up here, Ariel. Not seeing it, you can put in the chat box or unmute yourself, or if not, we'll just let you go. We don't want to harass you or anything, but we just want to say hi. Thank you for joining us.
Pressure.
And for those of you watching on the replay, like I said, if you have questions, feel free to put in the chat box. Patricia and I will pick up those comments and get back to you. If we can help any way, let us know. We do this every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern time, record it and live stream it as well on our social media. Thank you so much, and say goodnight, Patricia.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Bye.